burned out industrial town in Pennsylvania that was once a mining center and an industrial center. And when we were growing up, there was a terrible recession. So much like what Europe is experiencing now. And that recession meant that most of the people that I knew, their parents were in crisis. They didn't have jobs. They didn't have any sort of opportunities, really. And, you know, the jobs had left the region, and so there was really not a lot of hope in that time. And I had a teacher who pulled me aside in a time when, you know, girls didn't even really raise their hands in school in the 70s. We were kind of seen but not heard. And I had a teacher pull me aside, and you know when you're 13 years old, you know, and you're kind of going through those awkward stages. I mean, I had glasses, braces on my teeth. I was never skinny, I was never slim. So imagine, you know, a 13-year-old girl sort of coming of age. And this teacher pulled me aside and he said, you know, get away from those girls, come over here. And I thought I'd done something wrong. And he said to me, he said, you're not like them. And I immediately thought, he must be talking about how I look. Because, you know, I wasn't the most attractive girl, and I thought, oh, geez, you know, that's really confirming my worst fears. And what he said to me is, he said, you're not like them. He said, you're a smart girl, and I want you to go sit with the boys, and I want you to study math and physics and focus on, you know, developing your mind. And he did me the biggest favor of all, because, you know, as a young woman, you sort of fall into the path of hanging around with the other girls and sort of becoming what you think society, you know, thinks you should be. And he said, study math, science, physics, and get yourself out of this town, which was the best advice he'd ever given me. And he inspired me to write this essay and to compete in a national contest, which, crazy as it sounds, of all the people that were involved in this, I won this trip to Washington, D.C., so I won this contest. And I got in a car with people I didn't know at all, and I drove like 5 hours to the nation's capital. And I found myself just like in awe of government and like what was happening there, and the fact that there was this entire world beyond my little village where I grew up. And, you know, I really have to thank him, because without that one teacher sort of recognizing my talent and pushing me just that little bit, you know, I wouldn't be here meeting all of you today. So to me, he was a destiny changer. He was someone who, he didn't have to do it. He had 50 kids in the class. It was, you know, his job was really hard, but he took the time, he recognized something in me, and he helped me along the way. So a little bit later, I studied, you know, I finished my first degree, and I found myself in Washington, D.C. working on an incredible project. So this would be 1985, and we were digitizing images and transmitting them over phone lines for the first time. Now, if you think about that, that was the advent of digital technology. And we were doing this incredible experiment and bringing images from, there was a civil war in Lebanon, and we had people on the ground, and they were sending these images over and printing them in the newspaper the next day, which was like revolutionary. And so I met this man, and I said to him, you know, he had this company that was sort of taking all this technology and putting it into use, into commercial use. And I said, hey, you don't know me, but you need me. And he kind of looked at me funny, and he said, yeah, really? I need you? Like I was, you know, a little pint of nothing. And eventually I convinced him to hire me, and he moved me to Silicon Valley, and that's how I got to California. And I bring up this story because he just passed away 2 days ago, and you know, I learned from him for 8 years. He taught me so much. He was the guy who made the first cameras that went on the Apollo missions to the moon. So he was a pioneer in technology in the field, and I loved him very much. He was an incredible role model, and he helped me so much. And I mention him today because he was, again, another one of these destiny changers. So, you know, these are just two people in my life. And the reason I came to this concept or this idea, it just came to me in the last couple of weeks, this articulation of people who change your lives. And I had a group of girls just like this to my house. I'll confess, I have a group called the Women's Intelligence Agency. Kind of like they call it the WIA. like the CIA, but it's not. But there's a lot of intelligence happening in the room. But basically, like once a month, I'll just open up my house, and a lot of young women that I've met over the course of my career will just pop in, and we just have a good laugh, and we sometimes order takeaway or pizza. And we drink a lot of like pink drinks for some reason. I don't know. But we have this thing called the Women's Intelligence Agency. We were having a chat, this was a couple weeks ago. And someone said the most incredible thing to me. They said, you're a destiny changer. And I thought, wow, really? And, they all went around the room and were sharing sort of stories about, like, when I helped them with one thing or another. And, you don't realize that the smallest thing can really make an impact. You help someone with a presentation, and then that presentation enables them to get that big, deal or a contract. And that contract means that they become legitimate in the industry, and they become recognized, and one thing leads to another. So I guess my message is, try to be that catalyst. Try to ignite that spark that leads to something, and support each other. Women are the best at supporting each other because we're good sisters, we're good aunts, we're good parents, and we know how to juggle and manage incredibly complex inputs and still deliver on a daily basis. So I think it's really important that we sort of group, join hands and support each other and elevate, everything we can, every opportunity we get to sort of bring someone along with us. And I guess that's really what makes me excited about being here today, is just this opportunity to connect and hope that, somehow there's a catalyst in this room. There's some way that we can support each other, and, some great thing will happen from the relationships that you form here. So, in I guess, admiration and respect for Baroness Thatcher, who's left this world, and also my mentor for many, many years. Just this week, I don't know why it's all coming together at the moment, in recognition of how they really supported me and changed my life, and especially that teacher who saw something in me that, honestly, you guys, my mom was a hairdresser and my dad worked in a factory. I mean, it's by the grace of God I'm here, so I feel really fortunate, and I feel like I need to pass that on. So in recognition of all those people that changed my life, I hope that I can honor them and that I can do the same for all the young women and anybody who needs my support, young men, women, anyone. And I'm hoping that this new role in the government, I'll have an opportunity to do a lot more on the country's level, to work on policies that actually can facilitate people, to help them find their path and, establish businesses and support them on their path. So anyway, that's just from the heart, and I just really delighted to be here. We're all sisters, we're all here to help each other, and I look forward to, connecting with you all in the future. So thank you.